Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I always try to pick the most embarrassing fight that I got wrong for my little gimmick in the intro here. And that's why I'm going to have to say that I am the guy who picked Andreas Gustafsson to defeat Rinat Fakhretdinov. And yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. I know there's people out there that picked Harry Hardwick to win, so I don't feel too bad. But yeah, that one I got wrong completely. I'm here to recap UFC Fight Night 258, Imavov versus Bohalyo. I'm going to start at the top here. I thought it was a clean victory for Nasruddin Imavov. I got this fight wrong as well. I picked Kaio to win, but that wasn't my strongest conviction of the fight. My strongest conviction of the fight was that it would be a close fight that went the distance. It went the distance, and I thought some of the rounds were pretty close, maybe closer than they seemed, but I did think Imavov won. And I thought it was a fight where you could give him all 5 rounds. I feel like I gave Caio Borralho round 3, but again, I picked him to win. So, of course, I'm leaning that way, like any jerk off. But Nasruddin Imavov got the better of him. No grappling whatsoever, I don't think. I don't even remember the fight. But on the feet, Imavov was just sharper. And that was apparent to me very quickly. I knew I'd gotten this one wrong in about 30 seconds. And also seeing them together, actually fighting, it looked like Caio Borralho was going to have a hard time dealing with Imavov physically. And Imavov handled himself well physically and moved better on the feet, and his strikes were faster as well. And Caio Borralho, I thought, was a step behind pretty much this whole fight. Imavov didn't get a finish, but he's definitely got a case for being the next contender. Of course, if the fight's not booked by the time RDR is fighting Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, I don't think he will get the title shot unless it's a logistical issue where that guy's hurt and they want to get another fight in to there's no pay-per-views anymore. I don't know. Either way, Nasruddin Imavov is in contention. But I do think the winner of the next fight, Fluffy and RDR, is going to look better. And it's going to be a better victory regardless of who wins. And it wouldn't surprise me if he is leapfrogged here. But he's definitely a test for anybody in the world, including Khamzat. Yeah, Khamzat's a guy where he can fucking make you look like you don't belong in there with him. But he can do that to anybody. I do think Imavov is a test for anybody, including Khamzat. He's a 5-round fighter. I know he hasn't always looked great cardio-wise or whatever, but again, I'll always go back to the Strickland fight, him being the last man standing, and here he still looked great. And I thought Caio made a good effort in round 5, but I still thought it wasn't even enough to win round 5. But yeah, he pushed through some shittiness there. He was getting his ass kicked. But Imavov in general looked great because no one's looked that great or that good even against Caio Borralho. And no one's beaten him in fucking 50 years or whatever. So great win for Nasruddin Imavov. And for Caio Borralho, great showcase of some traits. But in general, he was technically inferior to Nasruddin Imavov. And this was a clear-cut loss. He's lost rounds, plenty of rounds in the majority of his UFC fights, I feel like. 3 rounds and 5 rounds. But here, he was definitely a step behind, where he was the guy that was fighting to win rounds. And yeah, he lost this fight. That was the stupidest fucking thing I've ever said. All right. Co-main event. Benoit Saint-Denis beat Mauricio Rufy. This one I did get right, and this one was fucking great. Benoit Saint-Denis really shut down Mauricio Rufy. He got it done with a submission. I thought he was dominant in the grappling over Mauricio Rufy. I really didn't know what to expect from Rufy on the ground. I knew Benoit Saint-Denis would be better, but I didn't know it would be that lopsided. He took him down, and he had him mounted in like 10 seconds. Again, I have to watch the fight, but it was definitely within 30 where he had him mounted. And I thought, all right, that could have been a little lackadaisical moment for Mauricio Rufy, but no, he was thoroughly dominated. He had some good little athletic moments or whatever, getting high hips and top position, but nothing really went his way aside from some scrambles for brief moments. Benoit Saint Denis crowded him, slammed him with powerful shit, and really just overwhelmed him, beat him up, and choked him out. And Mauricio Rufy, uh, I don't want to be one of these douchebags to use the term fraud checked. Don't make me do it. All right, I'll do it. On the ground, he was pretty much fraud checked. He looks like a guy that, I mean, to be a fraud, you have to be built up as great. He was never built up as a great ground fighter, but he's definitely a guy that is waiting to be exposed again on the ground. I'm sure he's going to be a lot better the next time, and he's going to be sharpening his skills. But Benoit Saint Denis, as awesome as he is, he's had a more difficult time with other fighters. Mauricio Rufy looked easy here, and that was an eye-opening loss. For Benoit Saint Denis, it was an excellent victory. I mean, this guy is a fucking monster. And again, even in his losses, he's shown great traits. The only time he was cleanly finished was against Dustin Poirier, even though he was arguably finished like 7 times against Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. But he's tough as fuck, and he's as dangerous as fuck. And he's dangerous in an MMA kind of way. Truly a well-rounded guy. And when he gets on top of you, he's a problem. And he went through Rufy with ease, controlled him, ripped him to the mat multiple times. I think there were leg attacks in there, but a lot of nice throws. He was beaten with some scrambles again, but in general, he was the stronger guy, and he bullied Rufy and got it done in the hometown as a big underdog, or actually not a slight underdog. But he was a 2-1 underdog a week ago, and yeah, he looked like a 5-1 favorite here. So great win for Benoit Saint Denis. As for Benoit Saint Denis and his place at the top, I think he's still a title contender. Potentially, he's definitely rebuilding momentum, and this was a huge victory here. People can kind of dismiss this loss now because of how bad Rufy looked and how, you know, uh, weak his grappling looked altogether. But I think we all know he was destined for big things if he won this fight. Things were flipped here, and he got a nice second round finish or a dominant victory over Benoit Saint Denis. He would have been leapfrogging a lot of guys ahead of him. He was a guy that was a favorite over Saint Denis for a reason. A lot of hype there, and I think Saint Denis, uh, this was maybe the biggest win of his career. Things might change down the road. Things shake out where Rufy's exposed again and beaten more, whatever, and it might not meet so much. But right now, this was an excellent victory for Benoit Saint Denis, and I consider him a top lightweight in the world. Modestas Bukauskas beat Paul Craig, knocked him out. He did knock him out, unconscious with an elbow. I didn't see it until Modestas Bukauskas saw it. But yeah, Paul Craig rolled over and he was out. And I thought it was a great victory for Modestas. I thought he was on his way to a comfortable victory. He was in Paul Craig's guard, so he was in danger, immediate danger, no matter how things were going. But he was getting the better of Paul Craig, the tougher athlete to handle, and the better fighter. I thought he was beating him up, had a much greater shot of putting him away, and he did so in round one. And really impressive victory for Modestas Bukauskas. This guy's got a lot of momentum to the point at which if he loses a few fights, he's still going to be here in the UFC. He's here to stay, and I really like the way he's looked here. Great win over Paul Craig. And yeah, Paul Craig retired. It sucks. I'll always love watching him fight. I love specialists. I love grappling. I love the fucking guard. I love the guard. I miss the guard. And I'm definitely going to miss Paul Craig. And look, he's been knocked out a bunch. He's been TKO'd and knocked out. And this was one too many. He's now an older guy. He doesn't need this anymore. He's fighting guys that are 185 pounds minimum, if not 205-pound monsters. And it's just not going to be good for him if he hangs around. So, good decision for him. I don't know if he would have retired without the knockout loss, but I'm thinking that was the plan anyway. And he was one of my favorite fighters of his era, Paul Craig. Always brought it for the weigh-ins and always brought it in the fight. I'll talk about his epic victories forever. His Ankalaev, Canadian Zetriku, he was always dangerous. But yeah, here it's good for him to get out of the sport as I give him a fucking 10-minute eulogy. Mason Jones beat Balaji Oki. This was an excellent fight. I don't know if there was fight of the night or whatever, but this was it. If there was one, I think Jones got a performance bonus, but Ogi had him hurt badly in round one. Mason Jones is tough as all fuck, and Mason said he wasn't hurt. He kind of dismissed it afterwards, so I'll have to revisit that and see what he looked like in the moment. But what it looked like in the moment as I was watching the fight was a near finish. Oki definitely clipped him on the feet and was all over him on the ground, but Mason Jones took 20 seconds or so dodging and weaving on the ground before he secured the guard. And from there was his fight. He took over. And he actually took over on the feet. He clipped Oki, I think at the end of round one. Yeah, in the middle of round one, and then got on top of him. But yeah, he took over on the feet, and then he really took over on the ground and just overwhelmed Oki and beat him up. Same thing in round two, ripped him to the mat, got a nice, beautiful throat takedown, really showcasing his strength and his strength in round two. And I know he's a judoka, certainly looked like it there. And then he was just too much on the ground for Oki. Oki's a guy who survived on the ground. You know, that first loss he had, Sebastian, whatever, DeFranco or whatever the fuck his name was, that guy beat him on the ground, and Oki was pinned and tired, but he didn't get overwhelmed. But here he was fighting a better class of fighter, even though Oki's a lot more experienced. But Mason Jones now, he's in his prime. He's definitely an above average UFC lightweight, and he showed Oki the difference here on the ground. Great win for Jones. He's one of my favorite fighters, Mason Jones, and I love gritty victories like this, comebacks, real fucking Charles Johnson shit. And for Oki, I do think he's limited here. You know, he was beaten with a guillotine, which is opportunistic, and he really gave Chris Duncan that opportunity. But here, this was a little more methodical, and yeah, he tired out and didn't have much to offer on the ground. So definitely some doubt with him moving forward, but he brought enough excitement where I think they'll be keeping him around. Axel Sola beat Reese McKee with a late TKO. You know, like how I said Reese McKee was going to win. I think I had him winning by round 3 knockout. Well, it went the other way. I thought Reese McKee was still dangerous, and in general, I thought he was coming on with his hands and making shit happen. But Axel Sola, who's been proven to be dangerous, had that danger in round 3, up a weight class and in a short notice UFC fight. And this was an excellent victory for him. Maybe not the best stoppage or whatever, but even if Reese McKee was able to survive that, and I think he would have, I still think Axel Sola would have been winning a decision or maybe getting a finish after that or whatever. But yeah, he looked great in his debut here. And Reese McKee, I think, is a lot tougher than he looks. He doesn't have the prettiest UFC record, but he's been given a chance to prove himself, and he's tough as fuck, first of all. Doesn't get finished often. He was TKO'd like that once in round 1 years ago, and then once to Hamzat, which doesn't count. But here, Axel Sola, the younger, smaller newcomer, fucking kicks ass, and he does so in France. A great win for this dude. He looked awesome. He's earned my faith, even though I'll probably be picking against him next time. And Reese McKee, yeah, he looked tough as fuck. And this was a war. This was a fun fight. Not as good as Mason Jones versus Oki, but really fun fight. I thought McKee made it interesting, and in the end, he got overwhelmed. technically. William Gomez beat Robert Ruhala. But I thought, yeah, he definitely won. William Gomez, just a little too effective outside. Robert Ruchala couldn't handle him. He got in tight and ripped him to the mat in round one, but uh, didn't really make much happen there. And then after that, I thought William Gomez was able to win the physical battle and the athletic battle, and in general, the striking battle. And he did another William Gomez thing where he won the decision. Only this time, it actually went to him. Yeah, good William Gomez fight. Shut down a newcomer here, but on a fight card that was filled with excellent finishes, this one just kind of sucked. Let's be honest. But yeah, for Ruhala, another loss of his where he's not finished. He's only been finished the once, and it's against a really good French fighter who got him out of there with a soccer kick to the body in round four. So I still think a lot of him and his traits, but technically he was inferior to William Gomez here, who is a really good above average UFC fighter who might be on his way to Martin Budaiville if he doesn't make shit happen soon enough. Umar C beat Brenison Ribeiro, overwhelmed him and TKO'd him at the end of round one. I thought TKO could have come on the ground or certainly on the feet. Bredesen Ribeiro is really dangerous. He's dangerous on the feet and on the ground, and he went for a Kimura here or whatever. But in general, he was bullied here, and this was settled again pretty quickly. 4 minutes and 42 seconds into round one. Umar C, he's a guy who I feel like can fight the longer fight, play the long game here. But here he was fighting a guy where just on paper he should finish him, and he closed the show. Got a nice round one finish in France. And yeah, this guy's still got a really high ceiling despite that loss to Alonzo Menafield, which again was really fucking close. Ante Dalia beat Marcin Tabora by knockout in round one, 2 minutes into round one. I thought he was the sharper guy, much quicker on the feet. I didn't expect him to be that much quicker. I thought Marcin Tybura would be the one trying to mix things up. And I think they had one brief moment in the clinch, but Marcin didn't really try to make anything happen. Maybe he was just trying to weigh on Dalia or whatever. But when they separated, turns out Dalia was still fast, and he went through Marcin Tabor's chin, put him away with a nice combination, and knocked him out. Great debut for Ante Dalia, who's got a long storied career before this, but he's definitely a solid addition to the UFC heavyweight division. And for Marcin Tybura, this sucks. He's been knocked out plenty of times before, 4 times in the UFC, but Aspinall was the only guy to get it done in the last however many years. And here, at 40 fuck years old or wherever he's at, yeah, his chin fails him again. And I still think Marcin Tybura is a big problem for a lot of heavyweights and an above average UFC heavyweight. But this certainly hurts his profile and changes things. You know, these knockout losses are compounded over time. And this one sucks, again, as he's a lot older now. But yeah, Dalia looked really good and can't wait to see him back in the UFC. He's still 35, which means he's like a puppy for a heavyweight. But let's face it, he's got to get going still. Cowboy Fernandez beat Harry Hunsaker. Harry Hardwick. I'm joking. Yeah, Harry Hardwick. I think he's really tough, and I think this is the worst he's ever going to look. But he looked pretty bad here. He looked like he was up against it athletically, and Cowboy Fernandez, who's got incredible leg kicks, just went through him pretty quickly. He was finished 3 minutes and 21 seconds into the fight, but he had him hurt before that for a good time. Harry switched stances, of course, and immediately got his other leg compromised. And there was a moment where I was watching him decide which leg to stand on so he can continue fighting. He's definitely tough, but here toughness wasn't going to be enough. Cowboy Fernandez was bigger, stronger, and better. And this was excellent for Cowboy Fernandez. I know it's not the most impressive win considering both the opponent and the circumstances, but I still think this guy is definitely going to be hanging around the UFC for a while and potentially making big waves. Harry Hardwick, I'm assuming he's going to be given another chance in 9 months when his legs heal. But yeah, he'll be down at a more manageable featherweight division, and he'll be looking a lot tougher. I still think this guy's got a lot of great traits. I've only seen, I believe, one other loss of his, and it's the one in which he was finished by submission. But I still think this guy is really tough. You can just see in his victories. He's got a lot of good traits. But yeah, this was not his greatest look, and definitely a rough loss. But I'm not going to give you too much shit if you picked him to win or bet on him, because again, I picked Andreas Gustafsson, and I'll get to that soon. Sam Patterson beat Trey Wooders. Sam Patterson is really dangerous. I said in my breakdown, I gave the first knockout in this fight to Trey Wooders. I speak like there's multiple knockouts in a fight because I don't know how fighting works. But yeah, I would have favored Trey Wooders to get the knockout first here. But Sam Patterson, I did think punch for punch was more dangerous. And he's the first guy to finish Trey Wooders like that. And had him rocked, stayed on him. He had reach and height that Trey Wooders is not used to dealing with, being a tall guy himself. And Sam Patterson was able to overwhelm him. He was able to reach that chin and that body and just stayed on him till the ref had to pull him off. Great win for Sam Patterson. We don't really learn much more about him as a fighter because this is pretty much how he's looked in victory. But another great victory that might get better with age against Trey Wooders here. And another first round steamrolling. So great win for Sam Patterson. And for Trey Wooders, really tough loss. Yeah, it's a strike against his chin. But I still think he's tough. He didn't go out. He didn't give up. And the next guy is not going to be nearly as dangerous, probably. Robert Bricek beat Brad Tavares by knockout in round 3. Brad Tavares, speaking of chins and all that, he's always been a vulnerable guy. He's always been tough as fuck at the same time. You know, he's got heart and all that. And here he put himself in a position where he could have won this fight, or maybe I thought taking the fight to a draw, starting to chop the legs and starting to get the better of Bricek in moments. But instead, Bricek, who had nearly finished him in round 1 and really dominated him to the point that I gave it a 10-8. Bricek, who I thought was letting the fight slip away, came back in round 3 and made good on it and knocked out Brad Tavares. He clipped Brad with a big shot, and Brad couldn't recover. Bricek smelled blood and did the same thing Sam Patterson did. Great win for Robert Bricek. He needed this win, but I also think he needed to show grit and show that he cannot let another fight slip away. You know, I thought that he didn't perform too great against Ihor Potieria, too greatly. I know my fucking adverbs. But here, he came back again in round 3, stepped on the gas, and showed he's still dangerous down the stretch and got a solid veteran, despite his chin, out of there in round 3. So great win for him. Tough loss for Brad. I was kind of waiting to see him ripping the gloves off, but he didn't do that as far as I know. And he's still going to stick around. I think he's another viable test and blah, 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 and whatever, just like Marcin Tybura at heavyweight. But he's long in the tooth. His chin fails him in the majority of his losses. And things can't possibly get better. So, I don't know. Imavov knocked out Andreas Gustafsson in under a minute. And I'd hate to lead by talking about the loser here, but I have to lead with the loser. I don't want to take away from Rinat Fakhretdinov, but Andreas Gustafsson looks so bad, I have to talk about it. He looked like how I would expect myself to look against Rinat Fakhretdinov. Running and reaching and arm punches and staggering and eventually getting finished inside of a minute. And that's exactly what happened here. And I'm not one to shit on fighters. If you watch my channel, I mean, I take cheap shots here and there, but I respect these guys so much and I respect fighting so much that I don't want to shit on them. But that was an egregious performance. Maybe not egregious. I think I'm overdoing it a bit here. But yeah, he deserves to die. All right. Yeah, he definitely looked like shit though. That is not overdoing it. He looked like shit. And Rinat Fakhretdinov, he only needed a minute to expose Andreas Gustafsson on the feet. But yeah, him on the back foot, somewhat uncomfortable, which I'm assuming was the point from Gustafsson. I know he just wanted to fatigue Rinat, but Rinat was still more comfortable than Andreas was, and he was landing all the right shots, and he kept his distance, kept circling out, and having Andreas Gustafsson like a bull chasing after him, and it didn't take long before he clipped him enough, and Andreas was hurt and shelled up and got put away, which, again, I don't want to shit on fighters, but it wasn't the greatest look. Let's be honest. But yeah, Rinat Fakhretdinov got a big victory, and I feel like he really needed one, even though he's been kicking ass in the UFC on paper. He really needed an emphatic victory, a decisive victory, and here he gets it inside of a minute. Gets to showcase his danger and all the rest of it, but again, I feel like it's overshadowed by the shittiness of Andreas Gustafsson's performance. And it's not like I bet on him. I may have bet on him. I picked him to win, but I bet on the over. I thought this is going to be a closer fight. It's definitely going to be winning early. And then Andreas is definitely going to be winning later. And it's all about that round two. No round two, no round three. Just a, a jerk off chasing after Rinat Fakhretdinov for a minute. Okay, I am shitting on him. But yeah, that just wasn't the greatest performance. I still think his win against Chaos Williams and every other fight I've seen of his, including his losses, or at least a one loss to Joyilton Lutterbach, I still think a lot of Andreas Gustafsson. I know he's a good fighter that's going to hang around the UFC. At least I think that. I still firmly think that. But it's tough to know that with a loss like this. Again, the way he looked for all 54 seconds, but even in the end, just getting put away like that, I don't know. Wasn't the greatest look here. But yeah, Sam Hughes, that was the greatest look. Her beating Shauna Bannon. Got her out of there with a submission. And again, I believe I said the first submission goes to Shauna Bannon because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But I did think Sam Hughes would be bullying Shauna, ripping her to the mat and winning this with ground control. And she was doing that, but she was able to pass her guard. She was able to muscle her inside control and take her back. And she mounted her. She was dominant in this fight in a jujitsu sense. I thought she looked really good. And on the feet, Shauna Bannon has that style where it's just, she was trying to keep her legs on the ground, but Sam Hughes was always going to be hitting her with straight shots and grabbing those legs. And Sam was able to bully her physically and go right through her pretty much inside a round and a half. Sam Hughes. Great win for Sam Hughes. She's one of my favorite strawweights. I don't know if she's ever going to reach the heights, reach title contention, but she's definitely done being the most underrated fighter, at least for now. But yeah, Sam Hughes, she's here to stay. She looked excellent. And for Shauna Bannon, this was a tough loss. She's got a lot going on, a lot of nice skills and whatever, but I think she's physically weaker. I think physicality is always going to be going against her. And here, it wasn't just physicality. Technically, she was bested and submitted for the first time. So yeah, Shauna Bannon's always looked tough in defeat, even against fucking Dakota Ditcheva on the amateur scene. But Sam Hughes just next leveled her here. Modern UFC fighter in her prime, and this was an excellent win and an excellent finish. And speaking of finishes, I think this tied or maybe set a record for TKOs on a card. I know there's been all finishes like Rockhold Bisping won that whole card in November of 2014, I believe. But this one was mostly finishes and a fuckload of TKOs. And of course, submissions like Sam Hughes. Excellent event in France. And yeah, like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.